to Workout Masters episode 39. This is Healthy Living video vlog. Ruben,
Aram.
Guys, we had a great episode last time. We talked about what are good fats and bad fats. We kind of were discussing between us after it, and we forgot to mention something. So today we're going to talk about episode that we call it the Praise the Lord. We forgot the Lord, guys, so my apologies. And we're going to talk a little bit about lard. So what lard is? No, Lord.
Lard.
Lard.
A-L.
Both of us have pretty tricky accents, so we realized that we're working on speaking better.
Yeah, we're talking about lard. L-A-R-D.
In my case, it was already 13 years that I'm working on speaking better.
Yeah, mine is a little longer than that. But anyway, going back to the subject. Lard is a great type of fat. The only reason that I didn't bring it up in the other episode is because it's very, very difficult to find good quality lard. If you can find it, good for you. For everybody else, it's not a good idea. No matter sometimes how good they might picture it to you or the benefits of it might tell you that I tell you about. And this is the reason why. Pigs, pork, is typically fed nothing but soy and corn.
So lard is actually a pork's fat. So for people who doesn't know what lard is,
yes,
that's a fat comes from pork.
That's correct.
Okay.
So typically they are fed nothing but corn and soy. They do it for a couple of different reasons. One, because it's cheap feed. Two, because it makes the animal very, very fat. There was a study done in the 1950s where they were trying to make these animals get fatter by any means, feeding them all kinds of poisons, all kinds of different foods. And they turned out that when the pigs were actually eating coconut oil, they were actually getting lean and mean. And they said, this cannot be happening. You know, we gotta sell these animals by the pound. We don't care how fat they are. So we have to feed them something that will make the animal fat without killing them too soon. All right? So long they can walk into the slaughterhouse, they're clear to go. So this is what happens. They feed them nothing but soy and corn, and this makes the animal very, very fat because it creates a very nasty inflammatory response in the animal. Same thing that it does to us humans is that, you know, we don't like to see it that way, but that's the truth. And in turn, what happens is that saturated fat in that animal, what we will call lard, is not really a saturated fat anymore because it's composed of what the animal ate. Since the animal ate nothing but polyunsaturated fats, that saturated fat is no longer that. It's actually a polyunsaturated fat, which is really, really nasty for us, like we mentioned to you on our previous episode about, you know, the good versus the bad fat.
This is the thing, guys. Besides them feeding some garbage food, they also give them chemicals. And as we talked back in the days about humans, the same thing happens to animals, believe it or not, because we are all animals. Ultimately, if you eat a garbage food and your body becomes overwhelmed with the toxicity, the toxic substances get stored away from your bodily organs, and they generally stored in a fatty tissue, and they get in the fatty tissue of animal. That is why it's important to eat a high quality animal fat or protein, because it does not contain all those toxic substances. So on top of it's a polyunsaturated fat, it also becomes a highly toxic polyunsaturated fat with the traces of antibiotics, growth hormones, and other garbage that they literally put in our food.
That goes without saying that the same happens when you eat, you know, the organs. Some of you might be a little squeamish about that. The organs of an animal that's diseased. You're eating the worst that you can eat out of an animal because the organs themselves, they're, you know, parts of the body that store a lot of nutrients, they store a lot of toxicity. They are vital to the function of that animal, and obviously they're going to contain a higher amount of toxic levels. I happen to like to eat, you know, organ meat, but I only do so of very, very healthy animals, like could be, you know, liver, etc. We'll not get into detail.
From a healthy animal that is very healthy. But let's talk about lard a little bit more. I grew up in Moscow, Russia, guys, and for us, it was almost like a common as a bread to buy what's called salo. Salo, that's Ukrainian product, which is basically a pork fat, sometimes stuffed with garlic, sometimes it's just salted. So all you do is you cut it with a knife, and that's super, super, super common in Ukraine and parts of Russia as a normal food.
Right.
So it was that was probably one of the ways to consume saturated fat in a quantity. So you would get salt, which has a lot of minerals, plus saturated fat together.
And when you put anything with fat and salt, it will taste good.
Yeah, and it gives you an ultimate satisfaction. I mean, when we talk about satisfaction, if you're Ukrainian or you know anybody Ukrainian, just ask them. You know how satisfying it is to just have a little bit of that. I still have fond memories of it.
Good.
It's hard to find these days.
Reminisce away. But that's the difference. So if you can get it from a good animal, fantastic. The animal has to be free range. It has to be fed nothing but what the animal can pretty much gather outside. Roots, grass, bugs. Granted, you know.
I've heard that acorns are excellent.
Acorns, but then it's going to be rare. There's going to be a certain part of the country that actually has that type of one of those seeds actually to feed the animal. If they do, well, you have a really good animal in your hands, and I'm sure that you would enjoy the.
And another one was in milk. So a lot of times farms that have cows that produce a lot of milk, they have some byproducts like a whey and stuff, and they feed the pork.
Well,
the
that's
pork
about we didn't talk about the nasty stuff that they feed them besides the corn and the soy. But yeah, they can put anything that you can think of, and one of the liquid components that they give animals is whey, because it's gonna inflame the hell out of them, make them fat, real fat.
But the healthy one, the healthy way, a good way, would be good for pigs.
I would not comment on that because I don't know that.
I think it is.
Okay.
If you read on the Weston A. Price Foundation, part of sustainability of the farm, that the pigs get fed the byproducts of milk production, as long as that is the raw milk production.
So I stand corrected then. That's what it is. But yeah, that's in a simple note. Lard is a very good fat to utilize. If you ever had like any type of potatoes, like spicy potatoes cooked in lard and stuff like that, they're absolutely delicious. And I've used them many times because I've been up to the day. I have a resource where I can get a really good, healthy, clean, lard, and I think it's fantastic. It tastes good. It will not damage your body at all. Quite the opposite. It has a very healing effect, just like butter and coconut oil. But it's rare to be able to find it. If you can get it, share it with everybody else that you can, so they can actually partake in another fat that is going to improve the quality of their health.
Absolutely. One of the best ways to use lard, you can actually fry things in it.
Yeah.
So if you want to make like a French fries, you buy organic potatoes, you fry it in the lard, it will be excellent, excellent meal. Guys, if you want to buy lard, I would contact the Weston A. Price Foundation.
That's correct.
And ask him for a local farmer that possibly want to sell it to you or share it with you, whatever they have to share.
And they typically do this in a co-op form, so you belong to this co-op and you'll take part of what their farm produces, as far as dairy, as far as meats, eggs, you name it. And you can get very, very good food at a very good price, quite often times cheaper than stuff that you find in supermarkets. Is that you have to do a little bit of footwork and a little bit of homework to find out what these places are and how you can receive it. And if it's still a little expensive, yet think of starting your own co-op. I think it's a great business for people to have and to promote and to create a very good and generate a great source of income. Not only that, but to create a great source of food for your friends, your family, and the people around you. So
absolutely,
that's another thing to think about.
If it's a good quality lard, eat it. If it's a garbage quality lard, don't come close to it.
Throw it away.
You have anything else?
I think that's it.
Praise the Lord, guys.
Your future is looking better already.
Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.